Free yourself from resentment and elevate your synchronicities in 8 steps. Hello everyone, girls and boys of all ages from Synchrovertical, the channel that accompanies you on your personal growth journey. Resentment is one of the most complex and universal human emotions, a feeling that defies simple understanding and often insinuates itself into the folds of existence in a subtle way. It is the fruit of an experience of perceived injustice, an interpretation that the individual gives to a wrong suffered, and it transforms into a sort of heaviness of the soul that conditions action and thought. But resentment is more than a temporary emotion or a psychological reaction. It is, in fact, a real category of the spirit that, throughout history, has taken on different meanings and connotations, shaping itself according to cultural, philosophical, and religious contexts. If you like the video, please like and subscribe to the channel by hovering your mouse over our logo at the bottom right. In classical Greek thought, resentment did not have an exact category. However, several emotions and concepts come close to what we might call a resentful reaction. Aristotle's cholera, anger, for example, is a form of passion that is closely linked to a sense of injustice. Aristotle spoke of it as an emotion that arises when a person perceives a wrong and reacts with an intense, but not necessarily long-term, emotional response. The philosopher distinguishes between healthy anger, justified by a real wrong, and unfounded anger, which results in persistent resentment. German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche is one of the most significant thinkers to deal with the concept of resentment in a profound way, especially in his famous work, The Genealogy of Morals. Nietzsche uses the term ressentiment to describe a form of indignation that arises from weakness and the inability to act directly against the object of one's suffering. Resentment, in this case, becomes a passive response to frustration. Individuals who cannot react openly against a source of pain or injustice develop a resentment that manifests itself in hatred and rancor, transforming into an internal poison that does not allow them to live fully. Resentment, in another significant area, has also been analyzed by the main religious traditions. In Christianity, the reaction of resentment is often condemned, as it is contrary to the teachings of forgiveness and compassion. Jesus Christ, in the New Testament, invites the faithful to forgive 70 times 7, to free themselves from the burden of resentment that clouds the soul and prevents reconciliation with God and with others. Resentment, seen in this light, is a barrier between the individual and authentic spirituality. In Buddhism, resentment is also considered a significant obstacle on the path to enlightenment. The Buddha taught that attachment, desire, and grudges are causes of suffering, dukkha, and that only by freeing oneself from these destructive emotions can one achieve inner peace. Resentment is seen as a poison that pollutes the mind, preventing one from seeing the world in its truth and generating suffering not only for the one who holds grudges, but also for those around him. In Taoism, resentment is a disturbance in natural harmony, a dissonant vibration that alters the balance of the individual with the Tao, the universal energy that permeates all existence. The Taoist seeks to live in accordance with the natural flow of life, welcoming difficulties without resistance, while resentment is seen as an internal resistance that prevents serenity. If resentment is an internal force that modulates the psyche and social relationships, it could also be considered a type of cosmic energy that propagates through the individual and interacts with the universe. This concept may seem abstract, but it becomes clearer if it is linked to modern theories such as those proposed by quantum physics or spiritual traditions that speak of subtle energy. From the perspective of quantum physics, every thought, emotion, or intention can be seen as an energy that interacts with the quantum field. In this view, resentment could be considered a particularly low and dense vibration, which propagates in the energy field of the person who feels it, influencing the environment and the people around him. The law of action and reaction, which regulates the behavior of subatomic particles, could also apply to the human experience. The energy of resentment, when not released or transformed, tends to return on itself, manifesting itself in new forms of suffering or negative synchronicities. Synchronicity is a concept developed by psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung, which describes how significant events can occur without an apparent cause, but with a profound meaning for the individual. According to Jung, synchronicities are the result of a harmony between the collective unconscious and conscious experience, and can be seen as manifestations of a higher order that transcends causal logic. Resentment, with its dense energetic vibration, could contribute to producing negative synchronicities, in which the individual finds himself living experiences that reflect his dissonant emotional state, thus fueling a vicious circle that keeps him imprisoned in a distorted reality. In spiritual circles, there is a widespread idea that emotions have a frequency or vibration that influences our health and our interaction with the universe. High emotions, such as love, joy, and gratitude, are often described as high-frequency vibrations, while emotions such as hate, anger, and resentment are considered low frequencies. Resentment, in this context, would be a heavy vibration, capable of lowering our energy level and attracting negative experiences that reflect that low frequency. People who harbor resentment toward others, or toward themselves, are more likely to experience disharmony in their lives, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Science and spirituality agree that energy, in our bodies and in the universe, is constantly fluctuating, and that we can elevate or degrade ourselves through our mental and emotional attitude. Resentment, therefore, lowers our vibration and makes us more vulnerable to the disharmonious influences of the surrounding environment, while forgiveness and release from resentment tend to increase our vibratory frequency. If resentment is a force that lowers our vibration, it can also activate a series of events that put us increasingly in contact with situations that reinforce our resentment. In other words, resentment is not only an emotion that imprisons us in our past, but also an engine that generates negative synchronicities. This phenomenon can be observed through the way in which, in some situations, individuals are constantly faced with events that seem to confirm their beliefs of victimization or injustice. Resentment-related synchronicities are often the result of unconscious emotional conditioning, which leads people to see the outside world as a reflection of their fears and insecurities. Freeing yourself from resentment and bitterness is a process that requires time, awareness, and concrete actions. Here are some steps that help you embark on this path of liberation. 1. Acknowledge and accept resentment. The first essential step is to admit to yourself that you harbor feelings of resentment or bitterness. Sometimes, you tend to ignore or hide these emotions, but the first step to healing is to face them directly. Accepting that you feel bitterness does not mean justifying it, but rather acknowledging its presence. 2. Exploring the roots of resentment. Ask yourself where your resentment comes from. Is it related to a betrayal, a misunderstanding, or a past hurt? Understanding the cause of these feelings can help you see them in a new light and understand if they are still justified or if it is time to let them go. 3. Take responsibility for your emotions. Resentment often arises from a feeling of having been treated unfairly. However, it is important to remember that emotions are a personal reaction to events. Learning to distinguish between what happened and how we react to what happened allows us to have more control over our emotional lives. 4. Practice forgiveness. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or justifying, but freeing yourself from the emotional weight that resentment brings with it. Forgive, first of all, for yourself. Forgiveness allows you to free yourself from the chains of the past and look to the future without being anchored to what hurt you. 5. Develop empathy. Trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes can reduce resentment. Everyone acts based on their own experiences and emotions. Understanding someone's motivations, even if it doesn't justify their behavior, can help you see the situation in a more balanced way. 6. Release control. Resentment often arises from a desire to get back something we think we've lost. Releasing resentment also involves accepting that we can't control the actions of others, but we can choose how we respond to them. 7. Seek support from others. Talking to friends, family, or a therapist can help put emotions into perspective. Sometimes, sharing your pain and resentment with someone who will listen empathetically is the first step to lightening your heart. 8. Commit to taking positive action. Finally, letting go of resentment is not just a matter of thoughts, but also of actions. Engaging in activities that promote emotional and physical well-being, such as meditation, exercise, or other personal growth practices, helps shift your focus from resentment to something constructive. In conclusion, freeing yourself from resentment and bitterness is an act of courage that leads to greater inner peace. Although the path can be challenging, each step towards forgiveness and understanding brings us closer to serenity and emotional liberation. It is not about forgetting what happened, but about choosing not to allow the past to continue to negatively influence our present. If you feel that today you have discovered something new and you like the discovery, leave a like to this video. Any thoughts or insights you have in mind, write them immediately in the comment box. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our every further publication. Also share it with your friends. May happiness always be your faithful companion.